A good friend of mine, Bruce Kay, recently wrote a book about the human factor in avalanche terrain. Let me read you a quote he used that made me look back on some of my experiences. In high-risk adventure sport, we begin our careers with two buckets, one being luck and the other experience. The luck bucket is full and the other one is empty. With every exposure to risk, we take out of the luck bucket and we add it to the experience bucket. Eventually, luck runs out. I'm going to call it a lifelong apprenticeship in mountain adventure, and it all started right here in North Vancouver. In high school, I was more interested in exploring the local mountains and rivers than academics. I got into whitewater kayaking, skiing, and bike racing at a young age, and had amazing mentors that took me under their wing and steered my progression. Out of high school, I qualified for the Canadian national cycling team and raced Pro-Am in North America before moving to Belgium, hoping to gain experience to represent at the Olympics and maybe even take a crack at a professional career. Oh, I need that one. Humbled by the European scene, I came back to Canada with a renewed hunger to pick up where I left off in the mountains, and now had the ability to physically and mentally suffer, which is a huge asset in the mountains. I skied, took courses, climbed rock and ice, and never really fully retired from the bike. This is also around the time my creative side found adventure photography. I was really fired up to share experiences, and I worked a bit harder to get the angle. This usually meant sticking my neck out with heavy loads of gear, and I had a few close calls with cut ropes or just trying to access unlikely places. With my growing portfolio, I started shooting with a crew who were at the pinnacle of ski mountaineering. 3 a.m. departures were normal, and we skied lines that I dreamed of, and others that definitely kept me awake at night, much like this route called Beautiful Nightmare, which took 4 years of patience before it allowed me to climb and ski it. The best part about the experiences, however, is you're 100% in the moment. You don't care about the Wi-Fi or the bills back at home, the traffic jams. It's just solitude and a crew of each other's backs. One defining moment occurred with close friends Jimmy, Trev, and John. We went to a classic north-facing line deep in the mountains northwest of Pemberton. We would often use snowmobile and then ski tour the remaining distance to the objectives. As we neared the line, my intuition bells were ringing really loud. We were a little late in the day and temperatures were rising. And the face was quite intimidating and complicated, but incredibly beautiful in the early morning light. I look at Jimmy and saw concern in his eyes, so we opted for an alternate route that would not see direct sunlight. It was a steep twisting couloir on a different aspect, so the probability for a large incident was lower. On the climb, we dig a few hasty pits, finding good stability, so we keep climbing, and confidence grows while we swapped out leads. A couple of hours pass, and we arrive at the exit to the ridgetop, where a small convex roll made us pause. It's a slope feature that signals a possible weakness in the snowpack. Jim figures out a safe entry to the ridge and moves towards a false summit, while I wait in the couloir for photo opportunities. Then I sense a shift. I look up and see Jimmy diving onto his ice tool, attempting to self-arrest. A wall of snow is gaining momentum towards me, and I make a hopeless attempt to jump out of the path. The rain is far below, and I know we're about to go for the ride of our lives. I began my descent in a headfirst and face-down position. I'm convinced I'm going to break my neck, and that becomes secondary as I'm suffocating in the center of a huge powder cloud. Everything is weightless and dreamlike while violently cartwheeling out of control. Gravity pulls the two of us down the path of least resistance. We fly out of the couloir and rocket over cliff bands we'd climbed through earlier in the day. The eerie silence of free-falling is confusing, and I'm mentally bracing myself for the moment I might strike rock. Then, I feel a tremendous weight on my body and sense I'm slowing down. The pressure of the snowpack builds, and I know this is a defining moment. There's no concept of which way is up or down, but I cover my mouth and punch up to my last reference to the sky. I came to a stop with one arm and one leg is free. I'm able to dig the snow away from my face, but my airway is clogged. Eventually, I clear the obstruction and gasp for my first breath in over a minute. The pressure and weight on my chest only allow me to shallow breathe, so I focus and I remain calm and I wait. John and Trev had witnessed the slide, and within moments are at my side, clearing the compacted snow away from me. A huge wave of relief overcomes me when I hear Jimmy's voice close by. We fell over 1,800 feet, or equivalent to falling 9 times the height of the Lionsgate Bridge, and incredibly, we only had minor injuries and mental scars to show for it. Looking back, we managed the terrain with line choice based on observations. Hindsight gave us no answers, but I did have some questions on my mind. Was that luck bucket now empty? I also question the reliability of intuition in the mountains and that little voice we all have that says go or don't go. The truth is, intuition is the last stage of decision making and is simply gut feeling based on past experience and your personal bias. Perhaps this is only slightly better than luck itself. I have turned around on many lines. On these occasions, I followed a feeling and skied away with no method to validate or measure exactly why. I'm not suggesting you disregard intuition as a tool in decision making, but I do ask you to look closely at the validity of information gathering and factors that affect the subconscious, such as your mood, energy, ambition, and attitude. The old cliche of dying while doing something you love is little consolation in my books. Since the avalanche, I've done a personal reboot in accepting risk, and internal conversations are very interesting when I'm out there. The mountains give balance in life, and the experiences they give will resonate with some of the most memorable and positive times of our lives. I look forward to another few decades of sharing inspiring moments through the camera and the mountains feeding our souls. Thank you.